but it was to do with extremely low hemoglobin levels that almost caused me to lose my life, you know. So by the time I discovered it, it was like I was, you know, wheeled into hospital and they gave me first preference for everything. And what had baffled me, Linda, is whilst most people were coming to me, because as a hypnotherapist, the obvious is, you know, addiction, quit smoking, you know, weight management, quit sabotaging. All of a sudden, every man and his dog that was coming to see me was sick. And I'm talking terminally ill. And I'm like, why am I attracting all these people? Yeah. And then after I had my little stint, I realized that I had attracted them because when I was healing them, I was keeping myself alive. And, you know, the doctor even said, do you mind if I ask you what you've been doing to actually survive what you've just been through? And I said, you know, what the medics can be like. I said, if I tell you, you won't want to know. And he said, well, try me. And I said, I'm a hypnotherapist. Say no more. So that was the whole thing. And fast forward to now. So I'm currently going through a very unique situation. And, you know, my husband is very, very ill. And it's one of those elements that it's terminal in the sense that there is no cure. And it also requires for a lot of support, and there's a lot of grief involved in that as a loved one, because they call it a slow goodbye, being vascular dementia. Now, this is the man that is brilliant and so clever, who's suddenly fading away right before my eyes. So what do you know, Linda? Even when people perhaps if they're coaches and they want me to help them, they've got a background where they are suffering in some space or time with a loved one that's going through something. Some of them are people losing their parents. Others are exactly the same position. You can't make this stuff up. And even though we're moving forward, I know that I'm supporting them because life happens to us. So at every corner, you know, it's about staying resilient no matter what.
So, yes, and that
also, my name is Terry Messenger, and I am
Hey, and welcome to Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. And, you know, this is the place and the space where you are going to get your own free masterclass, absolutely free.
Hello, everybody. It's Linda Morrison here from the Ageless Body Formula and Ageless Business. So we continue on the Art of Listening interview series, where I have enjoyed going across the world. I only speak English, but going across the world, actually speaking to people about how good communication and bettering their communication skills and their art of listening and being present when listening has actually really advanced their own lives, both personally and professionally. And it's become more than I even thought it was going to be when we first started this entire communication series. It brings me great delight. I'm back in my home country, but Terry Messenger's here from the other end of our coast, and to actually talk to you about what she does and whom she helps. Hello, Terry, and welcome.
Hello, Linda, and Prost. So that's German for cheers, but I'm drinking water. Please forgive my studio or lack of. So, here we are. And thank you for having me on your show.
You're very, very welcome. So what is it that you do currently, Terry, and how have you landed in this particular vocation and part of your business to actually help people?
Wow, that was a massively fabulous question. It sort of encompasses everything. So it starts in 2006, and I had a marriage breakdown after being with my initial husband for probably most of my life, 18, 20 years. But when I came out of that, I was in a really black hole. So that was a really hard and it was a terrible place for me. And there was a lot of self-doubt. I think self-doubt was the big theme, but there was also a lot of childhood trauma. There was a lot of unresolved, events that I had been going through. And I never knew that there was this thing called neuro-linguistic programming, which is the subconscious mind and the way we can change pretty much anything through the subconscious and rewire and refire. So that's when I met my husband, Dr. Ian Messenger. And he met me and he knew that, well, I had some baggage. I had my past marriage, and he, being a very wise man, thought, well, let's get this girl really cleaned up. So he mentioned to me about this neuro-linguistic programming. And Linda, I never thought in a million years that I would go on and become a practitioner, followed by a clinical hypnotherapist, of which, because the trajectory of my life changed, because I was literally able to change my mind, my body, and shift the way that I saw life, I just ran with it, and it's been my dharma ever since. So now I'm training and transforming coaches, healers, leaders, and just working the magic, which I absolutely love.
Best thing ever. So that is fantastic. So was there, okay, so many people actually say, oh, there was an aha moment, there was a awakening, there was a spark, it was like I couldn't turn back but at that point, etc., etc. I don't always find that my clients say that there was that moment. I think sometimes they hit complete rock bottom, but they don't realize it until later on. Like it's literally, it's survival, like it's sort of not drowning. It's basically not drowning. They're not swimming, but they're not drowning. And did you find that, or what do you think in the moment it was in? And I suppose what I'm actually saying is that a lot of my clients can't tell me where they would like to be next, but they'll tell me in great detail where they don't want to go back to.
Yeah, that's very normal. Absolutely. 100%. Well, you don't know what you don't know, Linda. So, sometimes that's the reason that so many of us don't even realize what is happening. And to me, when I look back, it's really integrating a lot of synchronicities. So at the time, while there was a huge mess and everything was just everywhere, and like I said, you don't know what you don't know until you do. So at that point of when everything just turned around and changed, I recognized that this life had been calling me for a very long time. In fact, that was the reason that my soul was searching. That was the reason that I felt so, that feeling almost like it's almost a loss without a loss, but it's almost as if you're searching and you're trying to fill that gap. And I had been filling that gap, and I'd used everything from substances, I can't even say the word, and, I was really doing sabotaging things to try to fill that void. But what I discovered is that all the synchronicities made that jigsaw puzzle that was all over the place suddenly come together and make sense. But one of those synchronicities is one night at about 3 a.m. or wee hours of the early morning, in the witching hours, I was awake and I was in my, initial life, and I was really lost. And I remember coming downstairs and switching on the television, and there was Anthony Robbins, large as life. I didn't know him from a bar of soap. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I loved his energy and I loved, everything. And then he said, call this number. So, of course, I went and called that number, but never got through. And I felt this, when you feel like I really want this, I really need this, and yet it was like it was lost. It vanished. It was an American number. I didn't get through. Fast forward 12 months later, Anthony Robbins landed in front of me, and with neuro-linguistic programming, everything evolved.
Yeah, beautifully said. Fantastic. And even people that I talk to that don't really know him, or they haven't really caught on to the, whatever, there's still some of his statements that absolutely ring true. And I know my ex-husband did all of his courses, especially when my children were babies. I did some, but I was, doing things like childbirth and breastfeeding for some of them during, not at them, but at home. Well, my ex-husband went along to them, like Hawaii and places like that. But the thing that actually he often says, and I come back to all of the time, is if you're stuck, move. And this just rings true for everything. If I can't think of something that I need to do and I get a bit stuck in my work, or when I'm writing something or whatever, I go and take a walk, or I go to the beach, or I move. I literally move, even do the housework, just like put some music on and do the move. And I don't think those mantras, as short as they are, as bite-sized as they are, they always ring true, and they always help to reground me. So I'm sure you've got your own in your own back pocket that are your own. Is there anything that is coming up with working with people at the moment, in this moment in time? Because I know here in Melbourne we have had severe lockdowns. There's a lot of people still really struggling with their mental well-being. And even when I watch different news, Australia Day news, it was really morbid in Australia, but the other cities were a little bit more lighthearted. It was really, like, even the news which is always, a little bit negative, but that was even more negative than other things. Is there anything at the moment that you're actually finding that is coming up for people in this moment in time?
Gosh, you know how to ask the right questions, girlfriend.
Thank you.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's phenomenal. I'm going to answer it by saying this. And that is that when you're in a spiritually aligned space, you will find, well, I will find, especially if you are a very spiritual, intuitive coach, healer, or person for that fact, you don't even have to be any of those elements. But when you are coaching, you tend to attract the people that are actually your greatest teachers. So for me, for example, I know very well that even though you need a niche in the online space, that the work that we do with the subconscious, and Dr. Joe Dispenza will say this, can heal anything with the human mind and the body, and recreating the addictions. Of course, some people don't want to move. Some people are stuck and actually subconsciously want to stay stuck. But what I find, and I'll give you an example here, this is a very long time ago, but I was sick, but I didn't know I was sick. And it was one of those things that kind of snuck up on me, but it was to do with extremely low hemoglobin levels that almost caused me to lose my life, So by the time I discovered it, it was like I was wheeled into hospital, and they gave me first preference for everything. And what had baffled me, Linda, is whilst most people were coming to me, because as a hypnotherapist, the obvious is, addiction, quit smoking, weight management, quit sabotaging. All of a sudden, every man and his dog that was coming to see me was sick. And I'm talking terminally ill. And I'm like, why am I attracting all these people?
Yeah.
And then after I had my little stint, I realized that I had attracted them because when I was healing them, I was keeping myself alive. And, you know, the doctor even said, do you mind if I ask you what you've been doing to actually survive what you've just been through?
Mm.
And I said, you know what the medics can be like. I said, if I tell you, you won't want to know. And he said, well, try me. And I said, I'm a hypnotherapist. Say no more. So that was the whole thing. And look, to be honest with you, Linda, I find that in every space and place, I am, you know, that the planets seem to line up, that they'll bring people into your space. So just to complete that conversation, so let's fast forward to now. That was a long time ago. Fast forward to now. So I'm currently going through a very unique situation. And, you know, my husband is very, very ill. And it's one of those elements that it's terminal in the sense that there is no cure. And it also requires for a lot of support. And there's a lot of grief involved in that as a loved one, because they call it a slow goodbye, being vascular dementia. Now, this is the man that is brilliant and so clever, who's suddenly fading away right before my eyes. So what do you know, Linda? Even when people perhaps if they're coaches and they want me to help them, they've got a background where they are suffering in some space or time with a loved one that's going through something. Some of them are people losing their parents. Others are exactly the same position. You can't make this stuff up. And even though we're moving forward, I know that I'm supporting them because life happens to us. So at every corner, you know, it's about staying resilient no matter what.
Mm. So, yes, and that thank you for saying that word resilience as well. And that is bandied around a lot, isn't it? And it can mean and represent so many things. So how do you, in that situation, sorry that you're actually going through that at the moment. I know.
Thank you.
I grew up with a very sick mum, and touch wood, she's great now as she approaches her 79th birthday in 25.
Oh, bless.
But it's but the older I get, the more I actually realize that she has given me the art of listening, because she couldn't take us to the beach, go for picnics, go for runs. You know, she might get down to our dance concerts and do different things, but she really wasn't able a lot of the time to do a lot of things. But what we were able to do was talk, and she was able to listen. And so the older I get, the more I realize that was a gift that can keep on giving. And other people could take me to the beach, or, you know, I'd learned to take myself to the beach, you know, as it
Absolutely.
all of the things. But so in that not perfect looking scenario, there was brilliance in that. And to me, that's really resilience, that you're able to scrape into whatever it is that you're actually learning from something that's not ideal, let's say. What do you feel that you're getting at the moment, and therefore those that you're helping is getting from going through this experience that of your husband not being well, and also you not knowing really the timelines of how this is going to go as well? So, and I should imagine that listening in to his cues, like what needs does he have, is a big thing. So can you speak into that a little bit for me? Because I don't think you get through life without actually being touched by something that ain't perfect, actually. Like, you know, far from perfect, to be honest.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm going to confess that, but every day, in every way, I'm becoming stronger and stronger. And so therefore, the biggest elements is strength. It's teaching me more strength. But here's the big one. This is one that really challenges me. And I feel that, you know, in so many ways, this is the magic of, you know, everything when we are healing, when we are, you know, moving through the hard times, and that is acceptance. And that has been my biggest challenge. And I have even had social workers say to me, I think you need to lower your expectations. And a lot of my community and people who know who I am and know what I've been able to do in my time would say, no, Terry, you don't have to lower your expectations, because belief is so important. And like Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can believe, it can achieve. But that doesn't take away from the fact. And let me tell you, as I said, I'm not there yet. You know, I'm probably a very long way, in fact, but I'm learning every day. There is nothing to say that my husband has not actually unwittingly wanted this in his life. Now, I know that sounds absolutely crazy, because who would want to be sick? Who would want to be in that position? But, you know, sometimes we do have to be careful what we wish for. This has brought my husband and I very much closer. And because of his illness, and before we knew, that had sort of torn us apart. So, you know, as I'm working with him, I realize that there are so many elements that are feeding a part of his soul. And so whilst I want to retain my belief and I want to have my strength, and I will work on him every day, I will not give up on that. But at the same time, I have to, for my own self-preservation as well, understand that he has a free will. He has a predestination, very deep subject, and he is on his own journey. And that is sacred territory.
Incredible. And so articulately said, and thank you for that. There is another 10 interviews in what you just said then. So thank you so much. And the entire time, and I know the entire time as you were actually speaking, and this is a word you were saying, acceptance, and a word that's been coming up for me as I get older, because I'm a little bit of a determined nut at times, and I am very good at getting things done and all of the things, is, which is a great skill to have. And there's a bunch of people in our world, in our, you know, people that we meet that don't have any of that. You know, they're just chilling above, you know, just, you know, getting about. But it's been surrender. And even the dreams I'm having, which have been a little bit too much for me, to be honest, have been about surrender. Yeah, they've all been a bit kind of, you know, it's about giving over, and giving over to God or the process or the thing or the energy or whatever it actually is. And I'm not even really entirely sure. And I totally hear you in your message, and I kind of just said it a slightly different way, and I went with it somewhere, but definitely not putting, not taking away what you've just said, but I totally get it. And mine has been about surrender, and then my next question, my analytical mind goes, surrender into what? I would like to know the parameters of what this is going to be about. And again, part of the reason that I'm doing the art of listening, because I truly feel it is a creative and it's a doing word. Listening is a doing word. It's not just here we are with the phone to our ear or whatever. It is literally a constant doing word. So is communication, and we can pick up so many things from so many different people. And also speaking around the world, what I'm actually finding is that many people are saying the same thing. It's just the words they use in America with English is different to what we might say it in a way in Australia or England or Canada or as it goes. But the more we are able to communicate and stay curious with that communication, I think the further we get to where it is that we're going, which, you know, that can be an objective and subjective thing as well, but also, you know, with more joy and more love, which is, I think, why we even bother communicating in the first place or having jobs in and around communication.
So true.
Yeah. So with the description in the show notes, there's going to be a couple of links to get to you, Terry. But what, apart from the imminent things that you're working on at the moment and, you know, what you need to do in your personal life, what are you looking forward to doing in 25 with your work?
Wow. Well, Linda, the word that I have for this year is miracles and wonders. And that comes also with wisdom, stoicism, and connection. So one thing I have learned is that I believe we can put things out there, you know, all the time about money and about wealth and about riches and about living in mansions, but you can't take any of that stuff with you. And what I have learnt is that in that art of surrender, in that place and space, because when you go through trials and tribulations, that's where you develop character. That's where, you know, iron sharpens iron. And what I have to say is being in the present and just understanding who I am as a person. And any of those things that I may have once upon a time in my less maturity, when I was wanting success and when I was wanting all the things that really don't matter, I was missing one thing. And it was always in my heart and soul anyway. And that is that when I am wanting to put something out there, it's not about me. It's something, this is what I've learned personally, it's something a lot bigger than myself or anything that I can do. So if I was to answer that question, and sorry that it's taken so long to get to the punchline, I would have to say that it is about transforming and training thousands and thousands of people so that they can live their life of fulfillment, so that they can impart the knowledge and some of the gifts that have been given to me. And so by actually focusing on other people and why I want that, which is I really want to, you know, I want to have a legacy. I want to have a legacy that I'm creating and one that I'm going to take with me and something that I've really been able to impact the world. But in the meantime, I'm staying right here in the here and now.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for saying that. And I know you've and we've got to quote some terrific teachings, but after about 35 years of actually studying personal development, for want of a better word, all the things that I've done is that they're all folding into each other and they're just saying it in different ways. And I think what we actually have now is many more female voices saying a lot of this stuff as well. And they might have done it before in the home and to Nana and, you know, their kids, and then maybe down at church to the people that they see or whatever. They're now actually doing it on other and bigger stages with their own words, but they've lived it. You know, many people have lived it. And what you just said then, it is about the generosity of giving, is that, you know, in this world of coaching, for want of a better word, or ascending people and helping them find their thing, their gift, you know, and then taking it to lots of people, it is about that generosity. And the more you give, the more you get, whatever that is. And it never turns up as you think it might. Like, you know, you might give a bunch of stuff and then it comes up, you know, a bunch of flowers, or, you know, never kind of, the world goes around in many, many different incredible ways. But yeah, Zig Ziglar says, you help as many people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. And I think in that process, you might not even want, when you arrive at what you want something else then anyway. So it's this constant thing anyway. And it's best that we actually stay in that flow. I think that it's the most important thing. And then align yourself with fabulous people such as yourself, to, even if you can't articulate what you want, just align yourself with someone fabulous. Because I've been in that situation before too. It's like, I'm not really formulated what I want, but it's not this. It's not being here. I want to be somewhere else. And that's helped to be with someone in the room that's very fabulous. And it's always worked for me. Terry, there's going to be a couple of links below in the description for people to get in touch with you. Sorry, I've been talking so much today. It's time to listen at some point for me today. But would you tell people what are the best links, and I'll pop them below as well and get them from you.
Thank you, Linda. And you have been absolutely incredible at listening, and so incredible at asking the questions, but I feel this is just a synchronicity. So for people who want to get in contact with me, there's some people that like social media and others that don't, and then have their favorite platforms. But if I say terrymessenger.com, and you will find my mobile numbers even there, but you can book a call and it will be free. And it's easy. My name's spelt exactly how it is, Terry Messenger, and terrymessenger.com. If you happen to see me on social media, drop me a little message in the inbox.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Terry, for being here on The Art of Listening. And I look forward to hearing people's feedback and see the questions and what comes up this year.
Thank you, Linda.
A show where we have explored through this various topic, along with all the exciting new topics that we bring every week to enhance your personal mastery of excellence. Now, I'd love you to do me a favor. In fact, be part of the Legacy 1 million that I have in the vision for 2028. If you know someone who really would benefit from this recording, from this episode, please share it with them. And when you subscribe, you get notified every week of our episode as soon as it drops. So let's do that legacy thing. Let's share, let's care, let's enrich. And I look forward to bringing you another week of the most enriching content. So until next time, stay inspired, stay awesome, and keep on mastering your excellence.